So children, in this video we will be discussing about question number 3, which has been asked in 2021 ISC Computer Science Paper 2. The program is on matrices. Let me read the program for you. Write a program to declare a matrix A of order m by n, where m is the number of rows and n is the number of columns, such that the value of both m and n must be greater than 2 and less than 8. Allow the user to input integers into the matrix. Perform the following tasks on the matrix. There are 3 parts. The first part is sort the matrix in descending order using any standard sorting technique. Here in this video, we will be using the bubble sorting. Second part is calculate the sum of the boundary elements of the matrix before and after sorting. Third part is display the original matrix and the sorted matrix along with the sum of their boundary elements respectively. Test your program for the following data and some random data. For example, if the number of rows is given as 3 and the number of columns is given as 4, that means a 3 by 4 matrix. First, we will be asked to enter elements of the matrix, which I have entered here as 11, 2, minus 3, 5, 1, 7, 13, 6, 0, 4, 9, 8. The output will be, firstly the original matrix will be printed, then the sum of the boundary elements of the unsorted matrix will be calculated and printed as 43. Then the sorted matrix will be printed, and then the sum of boundary elements sorted will be printed. Example 2 is given with m as 3 and n as 3. Example 3 is given if m equals to 2 and n equals to 6. So it does not come, it should be between the range 2 and 8, both not inclusive. So m is 2, that means it is out of range. It is simply giving the output out of range. Now let us have a look at the solution. In the first line, I have imported the util package import java.util.asterisk. I have kept the class name as m21. Public static void main string args. Then 2 integer variables are taken, m and n. Then some more integer variables are taken, I, j, k, temp, sum equals to 0 and sum 1 equals to 0. Next is a scanner class object has been declared as scanner SC. Then we have entered the range of m and n using the nextInt function of the scanner class. If m is greater than 2 and m is less than 8 and n is also greater than 2 and n is less than 8, only then the program will execute, the rest of the statements will execute, otherwise it will go at the end of the if else and print invalid input. If it is so, if it is within the range of 2 and 8, both not inclusive, then we are declaring a matrix A with size m and n, int A equals to new int mn. Then we are entering the array elements. For I equals to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus. Aij equals to sc dot nextInt. After that, we are simply going to print the original matrix using the next 2 loops. Loop to find the sum of boundary elements of unsorted matrix. So the next 2 loops is used to find the sum of boundary elements. So the conditions of boundary elements is that the number of row should be 0 or m minus 1 and the number of column should be 0 or n minus 1. So see this loop here. For I equals to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus. If I double equals to 0 or j double equals to 0 or I double equals to m minus 1 or j double equals to n minus 1. If any of these conditions is true, then the variable sum will keep on adding aij. Whatever elements are present at this position, then sum will add those elements to it. Once this for loop is over, then we are going to print the sum of boundary elements. After that, we are declaring another array B of size m into n. If we have entered 3 rows and 4 columns, that means the B array, it will be a single dimensional array of elements 12, of 12 elements. What we are going to do here? We are going to store all elements of the matrix into a single dimensional array. For the single dimensional array, we have taken the index k as 0, starting from 0. And after that, we are using the for loop. For I equals to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus. B of k equals to aij. And within this loop, we are also incrementing the value of k. B of k plus plus equals to aij. That means all elements of the matrix are being initialized into the single dimensional array, because it is easy to sort the single dimensional array. After this, I have given two loops for sorting the single dimensional array B. So for A equals to 0, A and B are the loop variables. A is less than m into n, A plus plus. B equals to 0, B is less than m into n minus A minus 1, B plus plus. So we have to sort in descending order. So if B of B plus 1 is greater than B of B, then temporary variable is used to interchange their values and the loop ends. This is bubble sorting loop. After that, again k will be initialized with 0 and the single dimensional array B will store back the elements in the matrix. So the next loop is for I equals to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus. Aij equals to b of k plus plus. This array B is going to initialize its elements, the sorted elements which are sorted in descending order, back into the array A. And again, k will be incremented each time it is initializing. After that, there are two loops to print the sorted matrix. For I equals to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus. System.out.print aij plus space. And then system.out.println. After that, we have to find the sum of boundary elements of the sorted matrix. So here we have taken the variable sum1, in which we will be using the same criteria. I equals to 0, j equals to 0, I equals to m minus 1, j equals to n minus 1. If it is present on the boundary, then all these elements will be added to the variable sum1 and they will be printed. Now, after this comes the end of if. That means if it is within the range, m and n is within the range 2 and 8, only then all this is to be executed. Otherwise, it will go to the else part and print system.out.println out of range. This message will be printed if the values of m and n is not within the range. So this is how the third question, which has been asked in practical exam of 2021, done. I will show it to you practically now. Children, now we will be doing this question practically. The question is, write a program to declare a matrix of order m by n, where m is the number of rows and n is the number of columns, such that both the value of m and n must be greater than 2 and less than 8. So whenever we enter m and n, first of all we have to check whether m is greater than 2 and less than 8 and or not. Similarly for n also. Then we have to perform the following tasks. First is we have to sort the matrix in descending order using any standard sorting technique. For this, we will be storing the matrix element in a single dimensional array, then sort them using bubble sorting, and then again restore the elements from the single dimensional array into the matrix A. Secondly, we have to calculate the sum of boundary elements of the matrix before and after sorting. And third, we have to display both the matrices along with the boundary elements. So let us start with this question. First of all, I have written the statement import java.util.asterisk because I will be using the scanner class. Next is the class name. I have kept it as m21. Then public static void main. M and n have been declared as integer types. Then I, j, k, temp, sum0, sum equals to 0 and sum1 equals to 0 are a few variables which have been declared and initialized. Then the scanner class object has been declared. Then we are entering m and n using sc.nextend. Next we are checking if m is greater than 2 and m is less than 8 and n is greater than 2 and n is less than 8. Only then these statements are to be followed, otherwise it will directly go to the else part and print wrong input. So after if these statements are true, then A matrix will be declared with size m and n. Then we have to enter the array elements here, system.out.println, enter array elements. So the next two loops are to enter the array elements. Next is we have to print the original matrix. So the original matrix is I equals to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus, j equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus. In the inner loop there will be a space so that the matrix elements in each row are separated by space. And once the inner loop is over, Then we are putting a println so that the next row comes in the next line. Then we are we have to print the sum of boundary elements of unsorted matrix. For that, the condition is given in these two loops. If I double equals to 0, j double equals to 0, or I equals to m minus 1, or j equals to n minus 1. This is the condition for boundary elements. Then sum will be initialized with sum plus aij. Only the elements on the boundary of the matrix will be added to the variable sum. And after this, we are going to print the sum of boundary elements of unsorted matrix. Next, we are going to declare a single dimensional integer array B of size m by n. We are going to initialize the index of B with 0. Now, next two loops are to initialize the elements of the single dimensional array with the matrix elements. So, for I equals to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus. B of k plus plus equals to a of ij. That means first all the elements will be initialized in B at position k, and then k will be incremented each time. This is how the matrix B will be initialized. The matrix elements of A will be initialized into the single dimensional array B. Next we are giving loops for sorting. We have to sort matrix B. So we have to use any sorting technique. Here I have used the bubble sorting. Size is m into n. So the A loop, A and B are loop variables. For A equals to 0, A is less than m into n, A plus plus. For B equals to 0, B is less than m into n minus A minus 1 and B plus plus. If B of B plus 1 is greater than B of B, then using a temporary variable, we are going to interchange the values at position B and B plus 1. This is how we are going to sort. Again, we are going to initialize the elements of array B back into the matrix. So again, k equals to 0. And through these two loops, for I equals to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus. For j equals to 0, j is less than j plus plus. A of ij equals to b of k, and then k plus plus. This is how we are going to store them back into the matrix. Now the loops to print the sorted matrix is given over here. I and j loops. Next is to find the sum of boundary elements. The similar loop as we had given earlier, we are going to give over here. Here the variable used is sum1, which has been initialized earlier as 0. So this is sum of boundary elements of the sorting is sum1, end of if. If this is not done, that means if I go to the beginning of the program, if this condition is false, that means m does not lie in the range 2 and 8, then we go to the else part. And in the else part, it is written system.out.println out of range. This is how the program will run. So I will show you the output now. Java C m21.java. I am compiling it first. There is no error. Java m21. Enter the range. Let me see if there is 3 and 4. Enter the array elements 23, 12, 56, 65 and 4. Then 2, 6, 1, 9, 0, 7, 34, 3, C. The original matrix is given as 23, 12, 65, 4, 2, 6, 1, 9, 0, 7, 34. And after sorting, it is given like this. And see, the sum of boundary elements is different in unsorted and sorted matrix. So this is the program which we have done it practically. I hope everybody must have understood this. In the next video, I will be doing another program which has been asked in your board examinations. Thank you, children.